Hi, this is Colin Greiser with NextChapter. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be covering the 6 powerful tools and features that you might be missing out on. I took a look at today's attendee list, and it looks like we have 3 different types of attendees. We have some NextChapter users that might have missed out on some really great features that we've had in our latest releases. We have people that have recently signed up for NextChapter that might still be exploring some of the powerful tools that NextChapter has to offer. And finally, it looked like we also had some people registered that have not signed up for an account yet, but are looking for the difference that NextChapter can make. I'm here with Erik Fraser. Erik?
Hey, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are in the country. But we're excited to share with you some of the features that we're going to go over today. I'll just give you a brief overview of what we plan on discussing. Number 1 is the ability to collect information quicker. Number 2, communicate better with NextMessage. So you can, NextMessage is our client texting feature. Number 3, automated hearings and calendar. So we have a hearing schedule with hearing scheduler with NextChapter where you can import your hearings directly into your calendar. Number 4, a way you can ensure notices are organized and available for you on your calendar as well. And number 5, saving time on data entry with common creditors, assets, and credit reports. And number 6, Clio Integration. So I'm sure most of you, or at least a few of you, are using Clio, which is a very, very popular CRM for attorneys. And we are integrated with them. And depending on where you're at, you may or may not know how we can integrate. So we're going to cover those 6 things today. I'll kind of get things kicked off, and then Colin will take over to go over each one of those things in depth, and then we'll close. What I'd like you to do, if you do have any questions while we're going through, because you can't talk to us, you can only hear us right now, please enter your questions in the chat under, it should say hello in the bottom right, where it says say something nice. Please ask your questions there as we're going through. We can see those, and we'll notice those, and we will answer all of your questions at the end. So without further ado, Colin's going to jump right in. And the webinar here should last 30 minutes or so, depending on what questions you have. We'll go over everything, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Erik. Yeah, so the number 1 tool that we're starting off with that you might be missing out on is our Debtor Portal. So this is a way for you to collect information from your clients in a faster and more efficient way. So our Debtor Portal is available for $500 per year, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. If you haven't already, feel free after the webinar to go into NextChapter and activate the free 24-hour trial of my chapter. That can be done by clicking on the Debtor Portal tab up here in the top right-hand corner. It'll then give you some information about my chapter, our Debtor Portal, and then you'll be able to launch that and try it out. So here we have the case for Johnny and Julie Appleseed. Now, from the case dashboard at the very bottom here, we have the ability to invite our client to the Debtor Portal, to my chapter. So with Johnny Appleseed, I've already invited him where this blue box is. This is where I would enter in his email address and send that invite to him. And let me pull up what that email looks like. Okay, so it's a little bit small on my screen, I understand, but we have an email from NextChapter that says Debt Law Firm LLC, that's the name of our test firm, has invited you to enter your information in my chapter. Please use this link to log into your case. So this will provide secure access into their portal for them. And when they click that link, they're going to be logged directly into my chapter, the Debtor Portal. So the first thing the client's going to zoom in just a little bit here, make it a little bit easier for you guys. Okay, so the first thing that your client is going to see is a welcome message that you are able to author. So you can kind of customize what they're going to be greeted by, kind of prepare them for what this process is going to look like, maybe suggest some documents that they should have with them while they work through this. It's also going to include your firm's contact information here on the right, and to the left, your firm's logo if you do upload that, and I'll show you where that is located in the settings, show you some of the other backend features of this after we look at the client side. So on this left-hand side, you'll notice we have a column that's set up in a very similar fashion to NextChapter. So they're going to be able to work just down this column or by using those same buttons at the bottom here as you would on NextChapter to navigate through these different sections. So right away, when we go to client profile, they can start filling in as much information as they have, as they're able to provide on any one of these sections. Some of this information will already be filled in for them. So for example, we have Johnny and Julie's first and last names in here. That's because we've already started the case in NextChapter, so it's already put it in there. It's also customized that header at the top with their name. But from there, they're able to just go down through this sidebar and start adding their own information. So they can put in their cell phone number, addresses. And when they add the address, they can choose if it's residential or if it's just a mailing address. Maybe it's a rental property that they own. They can make that selection. They can also do that ownership status, entering that information, and then click Save Address. And again, we'll just move down. Again, very simple, add a dependent. Your relationship and age of the dependent, does the dependent live with you? So this is all information that's being asked directly on the schedules that we are taking in for you. Personal items, they can select that type. And keep going from there. Now, when they get down to the very bottom where they can start entering in their creditors, income, and expenses, that's all great information. But what I really like to show off is this last section here, documents. So this is going to be an area where your clients can upload their documents into MyChapter. And when you do eventually import that into NextChapter, all of those documents will be stored on the cloud within NextChapter in a very similar fashion to the way Dropbox operates, if you're familiar with Dropbox. So you're able to access those documents from any device that you're working from, again, once you've imported that. Now, there are a number of customization tools that we have available with MyChapter. So I'll show you how that works here in just a moment, but this is a good way to show that off. So these suggested documents to upload, we will have some defaults there listed for you, but we can customize that. And in fact, as we're moving through that column on the left-hand side, when you're using this with your clients, you can turn those different sections on and off. You can also give custom instructions on each section. So I said that, the creditors is a great feature to have for them to start entering that information in. But if you know that you're going to be running a credit report, you may not want to import that information directly from your client. We can go into our settings. We can shut that off. Same thing, farm and livestock may not apply to many of your clients. You can shut that off. But when the client is finished and they've added their documents, they've uploaded everything in here, they just click this big button at the bottom left-hand side. They submit that to the attorney. From there, you will receive an email that says that Johnny and Julie Appleseed's MyChapter is ready for review. And I'll show you where that menu is. So we'll go back over into NextChapter. So I mentioned the Debtor Portal tab up in the top right-hand corner. So if you haven't purchased Debtor Portal, when you click here, it's going to take you in to activate your free 24-hour trial. But once you have, we can actually see all the different invites that I've sent out. We actually have different statuses listed as well. In progress means the client is still working on it, has not submitted it to you just yet. Ready for review, of course, means they have clicked that Submit to Attorney button. And what's nice is when they do send it to you and you have a chance to review it, if maybe you're not happy with it or they need to add a little more detail, you can always send it right back to them so that they can review that information, add the additional information that you're looking for, submit it back to you again. This review process is really important. That way, when you do import the information into the case, it's going to be quality information and not stuff that you're going to have to go back through and fix and change and adjust for. You're able to really take control of that information before it just gets dumped into the schedules. You'll be able to make sure that it is accurate as it comes over, and it's going to be formatted the way that you'd like. So when we do have that ready to review, I'm just going to view Steve sample here. And when I'm going through here, the first thing that you will see when you log in, you'll notice this is a little bit different than what the client sees, is our review tools. So right now we just have the one review tool. There will be more review tools coming in the future, but this fixed letter capitalization will automatically correct anything that's been, if everything's been entered in lowercase or all in capitals, you press that button, it's going to correct it throughout the whole intake form. And then at the bottom, once you do get through here, you've had a chance to view it, you can send it back to your client, or you can submit it directly into NextChapter. So we'll close that out. And we're going to go back into the Johnny Appleseed case. Actually, before we do, we'll go into account settings before I move on. I'm going to go into my account settings, and I'm going to show you some of those customizations that are available with the Debtor Portal. So we'll come in down here, integrations, there's my chapter debtor portal. And these are going to be all of your settings. So when you come in here, we can see the welcome message that's been included, the contact information. We're also going to set a default email address. So anytime there is an email coming back that something's ready to review or anything else, it's by default going to this email address. And that's just going to be a list of all of the email addresses for everyone that is on your account. And then above that, of course, your firm's logo. So that's where you're going to be able to upload that file so that that's going to appear next to your contact information. And below here, notice I actually already turned off. I cut off the leased vehicle section, but I can just as easily toggle the switch, turn it on, give some custom instructions if I'd like to make sure that my client knows exactly what I'm looking for in that section. But again, we can shut, if I just want to turn off the creditors, I can do that, turn off farm and livestock, maybe even turn off income because I want to know that I'm entering the income correctly. I don't necessarily want them doing it or whatever else it might be. We can really customize what that's going to look like for your clients. And again, those custom instructions. So here under income, we've given the custom instructions. Make sure to enter any 401k loan deductions. Same thing with our documents down here. We can see the custom instructions. There's our suggested documents coming in. Okay, great. So now we'll go back into that Johnny Appleseed. So that's tool number one. That is the debtor portal. If anybody has any questions on the debtor portal, feel free to submit those into the chat. I'm happy to address those as we move forward. We can, of course, take questions at the end as well. But if you do have something that pops into your mind while I'm going through this, feel free to use that chat. Okay, so we are back in the case. So point number one was collecting information more quickly and efficiently from your client, and we covered my chapter debtor portal. The number two tool that Erik mentioned earlier is a way to communicate more efficiently with your client. And with that, we've introduced Next Message, which is a client texting feature. Now, you may have noticed it when I was in the case dashboard earlier, and I scrolled down to show you the debtor portal invite. But right over here on this right-hand side, we have a pod, Next Message Client Text Notifications. So the way Next Message will work, when you subscribe to Next Message, and that is $300 per year for unlimited texting. But when you subscribe to Next Message, you're going to receive a custom local phone number that you'll be able to use to text with your clients within NextChapter. That way you don't have to give out anybody's personal phone number or set up a phone number through another service that sends emails or anything like that. You can do it all within NextChapter. And when I am ready to text a client, all I have to do is go in here and I can start typing my message. So I'm able to come in here and type in that message to send to the client. Now with this testing account, I don't have this activated just for the moment, but the way this is going to work, we'll come up here and we have, actually, maybe we do have it set up. Let's see here. We're going to edit this number and change from other to mobile and save. Yes, there we are. So there we have the mobile number for Julie Appleseed. And if I want to send Julie a text message, I can just click hi there. I've actually typed that before. We'll click send. And it's going to go straight through. And that's actually my cell phone number. So I'm going to pull up that text. There it is on my phone. Came right through. But you're able to text right with your client from Next Message. Now, when a new text comes in, if you're not logged into NextChapter, or even if you are, every time a new text comes in, you'll also receive an email notification of it so that you know that you have a message waiting for you. So that's all put through Next Message. Another thing that's incredible with this tool that allows you to communicate with that client more efficiently is the ability to automate these text messages. So we can do this through our account settings as well, but we actually give you a quick little setting button right here, and we'll get a pop-up. And we can see here that we can send the canned spam automated message response to let them know that they can text stop to unsubscribe. That way we're being compliant with that act. But we also have down here, this is the thing that I really like showing off, that these are the automated texts. So for example, post-filing course reminder. I can go into my account settings and I can create a recipe so that 7 days after the date of filing, it automatically texts the client to remind them that they still need to complete their second course. Very simple to do. We can also do that with our 341 hearing date. So this is going to tie into some other tools that we're going to be talking about later, but when that 341 hearing notice comes in, we can, and we have that date, and we have that date on our calendar, we can base a text message to text the client the day before, the morning before, to remind them of that hearing. And all of these can be done, again, through your settings. So let's edit or create a new text message recipe. I'm going to click this button, and it takes me right into my settings so that I'm able to do it. And we can see here we have a number that are already set up. So there's our 341 hearing date. That one day before the 341 hearing date, we're going to text both debtors in that joint case. Reminder that your 341 hearing is tomorrow. Please bring your ID and social security card. Please arrive 30 minutes early. We can also send that in a preferred time of day, morning or afternoon. That's going to automatically go out to your client. But we can also do that with this post-filing course reminder. So I can name this whatever I'd like it to be, and I can customize the recipe that's going to be included to make this message work. So 7 days, I could change this to anything. I could change this to 4 days. I could change it to 10 days. I could also change it by week. So instead of doing 7 days, I could just say 1 week after our filing date to debtors 1 and 2. Don't forget to take your post-filing debtor education course this week. Again, morning, afternoon. But once you do have that set up, you click Save Recipe, and you're all set. And when we are communicating with our clients through the case dashboard, through NextMessage, and we'll go back into Johnny and Julie Appleseed again, you can enroll them in those different automated messages. So here they're all turned on, but if I wanted to just shut it off for just this client, all I have to do is click that button and shut that one off just for this client. Or if I wanted to, if I have, maybe a dozen set up, I can check and disable all dozen for that client. So it's really going to allow you to customize that and set up a workflow that's going to be more efficient for the office. The other thing that's nice, of course, because NextChapter is cloud-based, anybody that comes into the case is going to be able to review that text conversation to say, oh yeah, we still need this document, and we texted them back on Monday and we still haven't gotten it, and so let's go ahead and text them again. So that way we know that we know when the client is being contacted, what is being said, when the client responds, and it's all on record for you, so you are able to collaborate. If you have one paralegal come in on one day and the attorney comes in another day and then another paralegal the third day, everybody knows where we are with that client. And that includes some of our other tools that are available on the dashboard, like our document checklist. Of course, that's something you're probably already using, and that's not what today is about, but that's one more way we're tying everything in together to make it that much easier for you. Any questions on NextMessage? Again, please submit those in the chat on that right-hand side of your screen. All right, the third tool that we're going to be talking about is automating your hearings and calendars. So what do I mean by that? Well, previously, the way NextChapter was set up, if you did receive a notice from the court and you were enrolled in our NextChapter notice feature, that notice came in, you got your 341 date, you added it to your calendar in NextChapter, you might add it to your Google Calendar. We've tried to cut back on some of those steps. So let's go back out to our firm dashboard. So our firm dashboard includes our calendar right there on the right-hand side and a little preview of our notices just below it. The way NextChapter is now set up to work with its notices, when those notices come in and it's a hearing date, we're going to automatically apply that to your NextChapter calendar for you. So we can see up here that on May 25th, I already have a 341 hearing at 10:30 that's been added to my calendar automatically. One more way we're trying to cut down on some of that data entry and tracking things of that nature, but we want to make it easier than that. Just because there's a calendar on NextChapter doesn't mean that that's the only calendar that you're using or that that's the most important calendar that you're using. So we've also released a feature that will allow you to sync your NextChapter calendar with Google Calendar, with Outlook, with iCal, and of course our Clio integration, which I'll go into a little bit more later on. So when that notice comes in for a 341 hearing, we're going to automatically place it on your NextChapter calendar. Then the NextChapter calendar is going to be synced with your Google Calendar, with your Outlook, with your iCal. So it's all together, all as one. Just as easy and as simple as we can make it. And on the topic of those notices, that's actually point number 4. They're going to tie in together, ensuring that your notices are organized and available. So if you're not one of our Pro Plan subscribers, you may not be getting your notices through NextChapter. Previously, that was a feature that had been reserved for our annual subscribers. But we recognize the need for flexibility with our clientele working with these attorneys. Some attorneys file more often than others. Some of them still need those notices coming in, don't have another service for it, but may not want to make the commitment to a full year plan with NextChapter. Well, we have a brand new exciting tool that we announced with our spring release right around the time of NACBA in mid to late April. And that's going to be Notices AI. So we're slightly rebranding NextChapter Notices, and we now have Notices AI. So Notices AI is going to be a standalone product that will include all of your court noticing features that we're about to cover, as well as that hearing scheduler and that calendar sync that we just discussed. Now, with that standalone product, that's going to be available for $200 per year, and that's available for any NextChapter customer, but it's also available for any person that is interested in using that service but may prefer another provider for their case preparation. So if you're using a different provider and you're happy with that provider, continue to prepare your cases with them. I mean, we would love to have your business, but I understand people have preferences. But we can take over some of that notice feature for you. We can take over some of that calendar and the hearing scheduling aspect for you, again, for $200 a year. Now, if you are a Pro Plan subscriber or you're interested in the Pro Plan, that Notices AI tool is automatically included in your subscription. So it's not an add-on that you're going to necessarily have to worry about. It's built into that $9.99 price for the Pro Plan. So let's talk about those notices quickly. We have that Notices Quick View here at the bottom, and that's going to show us some things that are unread and that have come in recently. But I can click to view all notices. And first, I'm going to get a tab of just our unread notices. And we can see here we have that one notice, but we also have all notices. And something that we've done here to expand on this, previously we just sort of had an inbox and it was incredibly basic. It just had your notices laid out for you. Now we've given you a number of other tools. You're able to search through those notices by title or by case name. You can also search by case number, by date. You can even filter by your notice type. And so if we look over here on the right-hand side, next to each notice, we have a type. So if I have one that comes in and it's a proof of claim, and maybe it just came in as a regular notice, I can change that to a proof of claim when it comes in. And I can actually filter and search by our proofs of claim, by a hearing, by a notice, simply by changing that status if it isn't marked correctly. So there we go, notice, proof of claim, all set up right there. Now, this inbox might get a little bit messy if you are handling a high caseload and you have a number of notices coming in. So we're also going to be saving these notices within the case itself. So let's go back into Johnny and Julie Appleseed again. So we'll go back out to our dashboard and click into Johnny and Julie Appleseed. In our additional documents section down on the bottom left-hand side, you'll notice Pacer Notices. And here are all of our notices for Johnny and Julie Appleseed. So we're storing them in 2 different places for you. Now, the way this works, when that notice is issued from the court, we're going to save your free look. So it's in NextChapter, and you won't have to rack up bills with Pacer every time you want to view a document. You're able to come into NextChapter, and we can click the I here next to it, this little I, to preview it and see the PDF in NextChapter, or you can actually download it directly to your desktop and have a copy there. And that is your free copy. So you won't have to pay for that. All right, the other thing I do want to touch on while we're here, and this is just going back a couple of steps to Debtor Portal. I mentioned uploading those documents. So while we are under that additional documents section, here's our client document storage. So when you do have a client that submits documents and you import that from NextChapter, it's going to be showing up in this section. Okay, so we've covered collecting information more quickly and efficiently with Debtor Portal, with NextChapter. We've discussed communicating better with your client using Next Message. We've talked about automating your hearings and syncing your calendar with that hearing scheduler and ensuring that your notices are organized and available. Both tools are part of Notice's AI, the latest feature that we've announced from NextChapter. Again, that's a feature that is available for $200 per year for anybody that is not an annual subscriber with NextChapter, even if you're not using NextChapter for your case preparation. Anybody that is an annual subscriber is going to have all of those tools built in for free. All right, so those are the first 4 things we covered. Number 5, saving time on data entry by utilizing credit reports, common creditors, and assets. So when we're working through our case, this is not a hidden feature or one that's particularly new, but this second tab here is our credit report integration. So with this being a testing account, we obviously don't have access through Universal Credit Services. But for those of you that may not have used credit reports before, this feature is available for you. You fill out an application with Universal Credit Services, which can be found in your account settings. Enter in your client's information, pull that credit report. It's going to be a tri-merge report covering all 3 credit bureaus. And then you're able to print and provide that credit report to your client, but we're also going to be taking all of that creditor information and applying it into the schedules for you. So I did mention that with the Debtor Portal, if you wanted to shut off the creditor section because you know you're going to be running a credit report, this is going to grab that creditor and claim information for you, and it's going to deposit it in 2 places, your secured claims and your unsecured non-priority claims. Again, for those of you that haven't used this service before, when something does come into any one of your claim sections, we give you a quick link to move that to D, move that to E, move that to F as necessary. So if something does come into unsecured non-priority, but it does need to be a priority claim, it's as simple as clicking move to E to have it show up in the section above. And here we can see D and F for the secured claims and the non-priority, or move to E, move to F. So that's way number 1 that you're going to be saving time. Number 2 is utilizing your common creditors. So this is another common feature that is available on other platforms, but it's something that we've tried to take to another level, not only in providing that service of offering common creditors, but also in allowing you to bring your common creditors with you if you're coming over to NextChapter from a previous provider. So when we're entering in a claim and we're entering in a creditor's information, I'll just type in A here, I'm going to get a drop-down menu of all of my common creditors, and I can quickly select American Express. It's going to fill it out for me for American Express. And then all I have to do is click Save and New, Save and Close, and move on from there. Of course, after I've entered in this information. But it saves you that redundant data entry when you know that American Express is going to be showing up all the time. You're able to do that. Now, if you do have a new creditor that you're entering that you know is going to be a common creditor, you just check that box, Save as Common Creditor, and that's taken care of for you. That's going to be added to that list. Now let's go back and let's talk about bringing your common creditors over from another provider. Most of the traditional providers will allow you to export your list of common creditors in a standard file type, which is perfect for us that we're able to then upload that information for you at no charge. So we're going to go into our account settings, my account settings, and we're going to come down here. From defaults, we'll see common and default creditors, and we can import the CSV. So that's going to be a CSV file that you export from your current provider. You import that CSV, and we bring all of that information over from your previous provider. Now, that can be kind of a blessing and a curse. It could be that you're going to save a ton of time by bringing all of those over, but it could be that you have 2,000 or 3,000 creditors saved as common creditors in your last one, and maybe you want to trim that list down a little bit. And that's a straightforward process as well. After you download that CSV from your former provider, you can open that in Excel and you can just start deleting duplicates or anything else out of that list before you then, of course, import that CSV into NextChapter. Another feature you might have missed out on, this is a feature that was requested from a lot of attorneys with us that work in rural areas or in smaller towns, the option for a default creditor. So if there's only one supplier for power in the area, in this case, American Electric Power, I want AEP to be a default creditor to show up on every case that I start. Same thing if it's a local bank or credit union that a lot of people get their mortgage through, we can select, for example, here we actually have Wells Fargo marked as a default creditor as well. And that way, again, when we start that new case, that creditor's information is already entered for us. In that same vein, with our most recent release, we now offer common assets. So what's great with common assets, this is going to work the exact same way as common creditors, but you're able to create these. So for example, when you're entering in household goods and you have a bed set, you know you're always going to enter the bed set. You know you're always going to be putting that in under a, that personal item. We can do that very simply. Create a new common asset type. We're going to say that is going to be a personal item. Subtype, we're going to select household goods. Description, bed set, value, $250. Save and close. And now we have that bed set here. So that's going to work, like I said, the same way as your common creditors. So when you're entering those assets, if I start typing in bed, that's going to pop up. I click populate, I'm all set. Again, saving you time. We have a similar functionality, of course, with common courts. If you're consistently trying your cases in the same courts, or if there are ongoing lawsuits in common courts, you can save common courts. Works the same way as common creditors and common companies as well. If you have a lot of people in the town that are all working for FedEx, you can save FedEx in there as a common company. So those are all newer features in addition to, of course, the common creditors that we have had. We've introduced those common assets, common courts, to try to make your job a little bit easier. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them on that right-hand side of the screen. Any questions about the credit report integration, the common creditors, the common assets, courts, feel free to submit those. But we are going to move on to our 6th point. And that was something that Erik mentioned earlier, and that is our Clio integration. So for those firms that are using Clio, we'll show you what that's going to look like, how that's going to work, explain that to you. For those that are not using Clio, that may not be familiar with Clio, Clio is a firm management system. So when you do take on a client, you can assign different manners. You do some of your bookkeeping there as well. I would encourage you to contact a Clio rep if you're interested in more information. But I will tell you that we are the only bankruptcy software that is integrated with Clio. We are independent from Clio, but we are the only bankruptcy software that's currently integrated with Clio. So the way this is going to work, when I start a new case in NextChapter, first name, last name, choosing the district, start that new case, it's going to automatically open that contact with a bankruptcy matter in Clio, and vice versa. If I start a new contact in Clio, I assign that bankruptcy matter, it's going to start that new case in NextChapter. With our Clio Sync, it's also going to pull any old bankruptcy matters that you have in Clio. So if you are in the process of transitioning over to NextChapter and you have 400 cases or 400 bankruptcy matters in Clio with different clients, when you start that sync, it's going to pull all of that information into NextChapter automatically. And what's nice with that is if you do have the case number entered in Clio, that will appear automatically in NextChapter. And now with that case number, anytime we receive a new notice from the court, because we have that case number, we can match it to that case. So you're able to track and manage those existing cases through NextChapter going forward. To start that Clio Sync, again, we're just going into our account settings, and it's going to be the same integrations tab that we were on before. We'll see Clio Integration, and we can choose what we want to sync. So we just talked about the contacts and bankruptcy matter. As I mentioned before, we can also sync our events. And I can say, do I want this to be on the firm calendar or a particular user's Clio calendar? I probably want it on the firm calendar. And then finally, we can sync our tasks to the Clio tasks. Where that really comes in handy, of course, is managing across both platforms, but the tasks were something we didn't really even touch on yet. So I'll talk about that just briefly, but after you have updated your selections there, just click Save and Sync. It's going to take you out to the Clio. When you click Save and Sync, it's going to take you out to the Clio website to log in to set that up. All right, so the tasks. There is a second tab here behind the calendar, and that's going to be the open tasks that you have on all of your cases, or even maybe some non-case specific tasks. So you're able to see all of those very easily, go through them, cross them off as they're done. You can edit them, you can delete them. You're also going to see those in the case dashboard. So we're going to go right back into Johnny and Julie Appleseed. And then on the right-hand side where we had that document checklist I mentioned earlier, we also have a tab for those tasks. And you can set default tasks. You can customize your task list just like we have those default creditor list. You can set default tasks to customize. Every time you open a case, you want these 6 or 12 or 18 tasks automatically set. And then you can make adjustments from there. We do have some defaults that are automatically set up for you, but if you are interested in changing those or updating those can be done through your account setting as well. So by leveraging that task list with the calendar, with your bankruptcy matters and your contacts, with your cases, speaking back and forth with Clio, it's going to cut down on a lot of that admin time to make sure that all the information is up to date in all the right places. We're taking care of that for you just by taking those couple of steps to make sure that we have our tasks synced, our calendar synced, our bankruptcy matters and contacts synced. We have our default tasks already set up. And that way, again, you're able to manage that across both platforms. Now, we are looking at expanding our integrations with firm practice management software. Right now, Clio is the only one that we are integrated with, but we have gotten a lot of requests for some of the other popular ones like Practice Panther or MyCase, or even Rocket Matter. So we are kind of in the early stages of planning and exploring that. So please do stay tuned. If you would like to see us integrate with another firm management software, just let us know. We design our product roadmap of making enhancements and updates to the site based off of our user feedback. So if we find out that way more of our users are using a different provider than Clio, then of course we want to make sure we can accommodate that and meet the needs of those customers. So please do submit feedback and let us know if you'd like to see future enhancements there or future integrations as well. All right, so a quick recap. Number one, we started off by collecting information more quickly and efficiently with Debtor Portal. Number two was communicating better with our clients using NextMessage. Number 3 and 4 had to do with our Notices AI that was automating your hearings, syncing your calendar based off of those notices. And then, of course, ensuring that our notices are organized and available both in our inbox and stored within our case, and by saving that free look PDF to avoid some of those additional pacer costs. And then finally, we discussed, or I'm sorry, I'm skipping one. We talked about saving time on your data entry with our credit reports, with our common creditors, importing your common creditors from your previous provider, utilizing our common assets, common courts, common companies. And then finally, that Clio integration where we can tie everything back and forth. You know, if you are a robust law firm that has more than just a bankruptcy practice and you're using that firm management tool with Clio, we can sync your calendar, we can sync your contacts, your matters, and of course, your tasks. I think that's about everything that I wanted to cover today. I'm going to turn things back over to Erik, just so he can kind of wrap some things up. Again, if you do have any questions, feel free to submit those in that right-hand column. I'm not sure if anybody submitted any just yet or not. I do have Erik monitoring that. So, Erik?
Thanks, Colin. So, yeah, it doesn't look like anybody has any specific questions based on what I can see. I know it's kind of a lot to cover. We have a lot of, over the last couple of years, building out NextChapter and talking with our clientele, we've built out a lot of features that we think are very exciting and will really help a lot of people. So it can be overwhelming. I understand that, but we do have a lot of features here and a lot of different ways to help you. So if you do have any questions, Colin and I are both available by email, by phone. Make sure you get our contact information. It's in the info for the webinar. You have our contact information. So please feel free to shoot us an email if you have a question. We will be following up with all of you either way, just to check in, get your feedback on the webinar, and also to touch base and see if you were interested in any of the features that we discussed. So thank you so much, all of you, for taking time out of your day to attend. And we hope to hear from you soon, and we'll be following up in the next couple days.